Good morning. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm walking the neighborhood, and I've come down to the alternative path down towards the river, and it's all overgrown now. Doesn't take long, does it, for things to get overgrown and the path to become a little less obvious. It's true for life. It's true for life, which is why we must always tend to our faith, to our spiritual life. I'm meditating. I've been meditating on our alternative scripture for Sunday, the alternative lectionary reading, which is from Genesis. And it's the story where Jacob is fleeing his brother Esau. Remember, Jacob and Esau are twins. Esau came out first, so he's the oldest, and there's the story where they come out as twins, and Jacob's holding on to Esau's heel, and then later, as they get older, his mother favors Jacob, and the father, Isaac, favors Esau. And Esau is set to get the blessing. And then Jacob and his mother, Rebekah, they trick him. They trick Isaac in his old age into giving the blessing to Jacob. And then Jacob has to flee, has to leave, because his brother's going to kill him. And he's done pretty well, living out there. He's done pretty well. He's created some wealth for himself. He's got wives. He's doing well. But word comes that his brother Esau, this is many years later, Esau wants to kill him, and he's coming, and he's bringing an army. He's bringing all these people, his whole household. And so Jacob packs up his entire household, all of his servants, his wives, his children, 11 children, and all of the livestock, everything he has. And he starts moving. He starts moving away, running, not really sure where to go. And they get to the Jordan River, and then Jacob sends everybody else on, and he stays behind. He has them cross, and he stays. And that night, he's resting. He's asleep. It's pitch black. You know, that kind of dark that you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's so dark, no light. And this figure, this person shows up. And he's afraid. Good reason, because there's his brother and his whole host of people chasing him. But there's also bandits and all kinds of people wandering around in that area. And so he jumps up and he begins to wrestle and fight with this person. He can't see who it is. He doesn't know who it is. He's just wrestling. As it turns out, it's God. Jacob doesn't know that until the end, but he figures it out, and they wrestle all night long. He wrestles. Finally, God says, you need to release me, because the sun is about to rise and you can't look on my face. It's sort of like he did with his brother. He sort of almost steals a blessing, right? He says, I will not release you until you bless me. Give me a blessing. So God's blessing to Jacob is that he renames him. He says, you will now be known as Israel. That becomes tricky, because when we read the narrative text in the Old Testament, and it becomes almost a word play, right? Because Israel refers specifically to Jacob, but it also refers to the people. I was thinking about this idea of blessing, because I've been, of course, watching the news and social media, and there's so much going on, and the crazier the world gets, the more out of control people feel. I see more people turning to sort of this black and white way of thinking around religion, right? They turn and they want to make Christianity about very concrete things, like good things are happening to me because I am blessed. I am a blessed person. God has blessed me. And they claim it. I see they write little memes for Facebook. It's maybe you even said, I'm so blessed. And that concept of blessing has been warped into this really horrible theological understanding of that God is somehow tied up into capitalism and monetary things, even though Jesus says repeatedly over and over, second most popular topic is the evil of money and power. But still, we turn this and warp it into this idea that God blesses us with money and monetary things. We are blessed. And so if we're blessed because we must be doing something right, then God must be cursing somebody else who doesn't have what they need. And it's just not true. It's just not the way God works. And it's not the way that blessing works. Blessing is not about having everything you want. So blessed to have everything I need and want. Poor souls that don't. What about them? Are they not blessed? Are they not loved by God? Really falls apart, and you can see how we have such problems in our society with people who have a lot having a really hard time caring at all about people who have nothing. You can see how that gets warped into, well, it must be your own fault. You must be doing something to anger God because you aren't blessed. And God has chosen me. But you know what? If you think about this blessing that Jacob receives, you know, it comes with a real price, right? When Jacob walks away with this blessing that he demands, what it is he's changed forever. And not necessarily in a positive way, right? He is physically maimed by it. He is, God reaches out and smacks him on his hip bone, and he is now physically crippled forever. He will walk with a limp forever. It also changes him in a way that the blessing, think about what that blessing is. That blessing is that he will no longer be known as Jacob. He loses his identity in a way. Now he has a responsibility beyond himself, which is where he's been stuck for a long time. What his needs are, now his blessing is that he has to think about the whole nation. He has to think about people beyond his own family. He has to enfold and care for and be responsible for the plight of the Israelites. He has been named Israel. What it does to him is really wonderful, right? Because he accepts it. He accepts the blessing. It's a hard blessing to accept. He accepts it. He says, okay. And he settles into this place of humility. He humbles himself then before God. He goes to his brother. He risks everything because he knows that his brother is intent on killing him. But he reaches out. He stops running. He turns and faces what he has done. He faces his past. He faces the thing that he is most fearful of. And he humbles himself before his brother. He says, he makes amends. He says, I'm sorry. And his brother's response then is to humble himself too. And there is a reconciliation and a peace that follows. I wonder if you have the courage to really be blessed by God. Do you have the courage really to ask for God's blessing, knowing that it doesn't come in monetary? It's not about things. It's about turning away from just your individual need and what you get as an individual and looking more deeply at how we care for and tend to and reconcile with the community, the people, the world beyond us. I think we have a lot to learn from Jacob. I think the world could use a little of that blessing right now. I invite you to turn to God. Turn and face the fears and be blessed.